Hi, and welcome to the Easy WordPress Websites webinar. Thank you for joining me. My name is Angie Meeker. I design websites at angiemeekerdesigns.com and also teach people how to use WordPress at mynameIsangie.com. I live in Columbus, Ohio with my husband Robert and my 3-year-old daughter. 10 years ago, I was a secretary at a church in South Carolina who was having their website bid out by design firms in the city. The lowest bid back was $4,000, and I told the senior pastor, Kevin, I don't know how to build a website, but I sure will figure it out for less than $4,000, and I did. 10 years later, I have my own small business building websites and teaching small businesses how to build their own websites, save money, and make money building websites on the internet. And I want to show you how to do the same thing using a piece of software called WordPress. At the end of this webinar, you will be equipped to completely build your own website using WordPress. Here's a quick outline of what we'll cover today. I will show you how to choose a good host, choose your domain, and set up your email account and your new hosting account. How to install WordPress, create users, adjust the most important general settings in your new WordPress installation, give you a great overview of the dashboard in WordPress, show you how to add content to your WordPress installation like pages and posts and new articles, how to change the theme, which is the look of your entire site, how to find and add widgets to the sidebars, and how to add pages and links to your menus and your navigation. I'll tell you about the most important plugins that you should be using on your site, but as well how to find new plugins and install plugins, and where to find advice on which plugins you should be using and which ones you shouldn't be using. Then, after that, your site will be basically set up and ready to use. So then I'll tell you what should you write about on your website once it's up and running. I'll tell you the 10 most popular types of articles that your small business can write on an ongoing basis that will attract and retain viewers to your site. And I'll show you how to integrate your website with the most popular social networks out there, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So let's go ahead and get started. Building a website is like building a house. If you were building a house, you'd have to have land to build on. You'd have to have a street address. You'd have to have a mailbox. And of course, you'd have to have a house. A website is just like that. Your land is called hosting. Your street address is like your domain. That's your www.angiemeekerdesigns.com or stanleycabinets.com or whatever it is that your website address will be. It's called a domain. That's also called a URL. You need a mailbox, which is like your email address. And of course, you wouldn't dream of having a mailbox that didn't match or that didn't accept mail that was delivered to your matching house and to the house that was addressed to your street address. And so I'm going to make sure that you have a mailbox, an email address that matches your domain. You know, so many small businesses, even once they build a website, they still have an email address that doesn't match their domain. Get with it. I want to show you how to make sure that you have that. And then, of course, the most important thing, I'm going to show you how to build your website professionally and how to do it yourself using WordPress. I mentioned before that the very first thing that you have to have is hosting. You know, you can't build a house until you have land to build on. It's one of the most important foundations. I want to tell you a little bit about a good host and a bad host. A bad host will nickel and dime you for every little item. They'll charge you for 5 email accounts versus 10 email accounts. They'll charge you for a certain amount of space, or they'll charge you for an upgrade to have more space on your hosting account. So does that make sense? Like if you want a certain amount of land for your house, you have to pay X amount. If you want more land, then you have to pay even more. Well, the reality is that most small businesses will never use all of the land that is given to them with even the most basic hosting account. And so when hosting companies nickel and dime you like that, they are truly nickeling, they're just ripping you off. And so what you want to look for when you're looking for a good host is a host who gives you unlimited access to your hosting account and to the space on their servers. You want to look for a host that their hosting account dashboard is easy to navigate. Like when you try to log into your hosting account, the place where all of your website files and your email accounts are located, it's easy to understand. You know, some hosting companies, you log into their back end and it's like a maze trying to find anything back there. And you want a hosting company that makes tech support a breeze. Some hosting companies, when you have a question or you need help with your hosting, now remember, this isn't necessarily your website, this is just the land that your website is built on. When you need help with your hosting, you have to submit a support ticket, and maybe that support ticket will be responded to within 24 to 48 hours. Well, if you're building a business based, partly or entirely on your website, you need immediate response. You don't want to wait 24 to 48 hours for a response. And you certainly don't want to wait to get it by email. You want to be able to speak with someone. And so it's very important to choose a host who is accessible by email, phone, ticketing system, and live chat. So the hosting company that we recommend is called HostGator, and I will tell you just a little bit more about them as we go through this demonstration, because I'll actually use HostGator to as the hosting company in this demonstration in this webinar. HostGator gives you everything that you need in your hosting package. They give you unlimited space, basically. They give you unlimited email accounts and unlimited space with those email accounts. If we right now went to the HostGator website and had a question, we would be able to access a support tech by live chat and get an answer probably within 5 minutes to our question. And their back end, where you log in to get your information, is extremely easy to understand. And you'll see that because I'll show you in just a minute as we go through and then start actually installing WordPress, how easy it is to get access to those things. If you don't yet have a host for your new website, please go ahead and use HostGator. I promise you won't be disappointed with their support. And if you use the coupon code EasyWordPress, you'll get 25% off of your entire package that you order. Now, hosting packages, let's go ahead and hop out of this and go ahead and look at those hosting packages really quickly. We're going to go to hostgator.com. And now for some people this is going to be really basic, but for other people, when I tell for example, when I tell clients to go and purchase their hosting, they are completely lost even from that moment. And so I'm going to actually walk you through what it looks like to purchase hosting with HostGator. So here we are at hostgator.com, and we're going to click on View Hosting Plans. HostGator has several different hosting plans. The three major ones are the Hatchling plan, the Baby plan, and the Business plan. The big differences are the Hatchling plan allows you one domain, the Baby plan allows you unlimited domains, and the Business plan comes with a free private security certificate and dedicated IP address. Now, if you're not sure what that is, or if you'll even need it, let me quickly explain what that is. If you plan to have an e-commerce store or collect a lot of private information directly on your site, then you should go ahead and get the Business plan, because you will need that private security certificate in order to securely process that private information that people are sharing with you. If you're not planning on having an e-commerce store that processes information directly on the site, then you don't necessarily need that. If you're planning on using a service like PayPal that processes the information off-site, then you still don't even need the private SSL. Most businesses will only use, it's only necessary for them to need the Baby plan. I recommend the Baby plan because once you figure out how to install WordPress and start building your own websites once, you're going to want to do it over and over and over again. You'll say, oh, I could do this for this idea that I have, and then another idea. And if you only have the hatchling plan with just one single domain that is allowed on that site or on your hosting account, then you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to just start new sites over and over as you have ideas. And so I recommend the baby plan. Each one of these plans, the price goes down the further out that you choose your hosting or choose to pay for your hosting. You can pay for it monthly at about $7.96 a month, or if you go all the way out to 3 years, it goes down basically by $1 a month. Now remember, if you use that coupon code Easy WordPress, you're going to get 25% off of your entire purchase here. So just keep that in mind. Now, this process that I'm showing you is not specific to HostGator. It works basically the same with any host. So just keep that in mind. I'm using HostGator as an example and giving you that 25% off at HostGator as well. So let's go ahead and we're going to choose the baby plan and click Order Now. Now, if you don't have a domain yet for your website, you would enter it right here, enter a domain. If you already have one that you're going to use with this hosting account, then you would enter that one over here. So we're going to go ahead and enter like greatsealsrs.com. I sure hope no one has that, because that's a crazy domain. And we entered Easy WordPress for your coupon. Okay, so we're going to click Continue to Step 2. Now, before we continue much more, let me tell you about choosing a good domain. You know, there are tons and tons and tons of ways that you can come up with a domain name, but there are some key rules around creating your domain name that I want to share with you. The first one is to simply brainstorm keywords that are related to your industry. For example, if you are in the mortgage industry, you might start with words like mortgage, finance, home equity, interest rate, and house payment. These are search heavy, search intensive, search attractive words related to your industry. And so maybe the name of your industry the name of your company might be Bright Star Mortgage. Maybe it's Bright Star Equity. You know, you want to, or maybe you might just call your company Bright Star, but you want to look for Bright Star Mortgage because that pulls in a keyword for your industry that will help you when people are searching for your company or for your service in your area. Make your domain unique. Having your website confused with a popular site already owned by someone else is a recipe for disaster. Like plurals or hyphenated or misspelled domain names is a no-no. Here's an example. Flickr, F-L-I-C-K-R versus F-L-I-C-K-E-R. Like if you happen to be a company that sells campfire equipment and you want to name your company Flickr, don't do it. I mean, you want to choose the domain Flickr, F-L-I-C-K-E-R, you're going to have a terrible time competing with a company that already has the name Flickr and is already well established. Even though you're spelling your name differently, you're still competing with an existing company. And so don't do that. Only choose .com available domains. Now, you know, there are other domains right now, or other extensions like .net or .tv, .me, .us, things like that. They're not the domains that people think about when they're trying to think of what a URL is for a company. You know, you don't think, oh, what's that .us address? No. It's .com. That's what people think of. Maybe they think of .org if they're thinking of an organization. Maybe. But if you're an organization, frankly, you should probably get the .com in addition to the .org and point them both to the same website. Make it easy to type. Physically on the keyboard, is your domain easy to type? Do the people who are visiting your site have to stretch their fingers from one side of the keyboard to the other in order to type your domain? If they do, change your domain. You want it to be easy for people to get to. Could your domain name be easily confused with other sounding words. For example, Shoreline Accounting. Is that spelled S-H-O-R-E? Or could some people type it S-U-R-E? Shoreline or Shoreline? It really depends on how you hear it. And so if that's the name of your company, consider getting a domain that frankly doesn't have Shoreline in the title of the domain, because it will be too easily confused. Make it easy to remember. Keep the domain as short as possible. Create and fulfill expectations. You think about the domain WebMD. Just the domain alone tells you what that site is about. It is a website that has something to do with medicine. Autotrader.com. That's a website about trading autos. Or I'm here in Columbus. There's a website called Columbus Underground that's very popular. Well, that's a website about the underground of Columbus. Even big websites like Monster or Amazon.com, they had to do more work branding themselves initially, both online and off, because their name doesn't implicitly say what they do. Avoid copyright infringement. Visit copyright.gov and search your domain name before you buy your domain name. Reject hyphens and numbers. Both hyphens and numbers make it hard to give your domain name verbally and fall down on being easy to remember or type. If your domain name is One Accounting, am I supposed to type the number 1 accounting, or am I supposed to spell the number 1 accounting? Reject numbers and hyphens. And of course, the last thing that you need for your website is a matching email address. Again, if you were to purchase the domain name of let's say oneaccounting.com, you need an email address that matches oneaccounting.com. And so keep in mind when you're creating your domain name that people are going to also be sending email to that on a regular basis. And so it's not just a matter of people searching for it, but they're going to be sending emails to it on a regular basis and need to remember it and type it out when they're sending emails to. Okay, now that we've covered domains, let's finish getting our hosting account so that we can use our domain together with our email account and create our website. So here we are. We're basically confirming our package that we want. We're going to choose the baby package with the billing cycle. We need to create a username for our account with a security pin. The security pin, not just on HostGator, but with most hosts, you would need if you were to call in and ask for technical support or billing support. They would ask you for that security pin. Your billing information, whether you want to pay with a credit card or PayPal, and again, just your general your billing recap of what you've ordered here. So you can see that for 1 month, for 1 month, and a domain registration is $22. Now, in the next month, you wouldn't have this domain registration because the domain registration covers the entire year. So for the next month, the registration would be about $7 for the next month because the package would be just 25% off of that. So, okay, so you would click Create Account. Now, once you've clicked Create Account, you'll receive a confirmation email. And in that confirmation email, again, this is basically the same for every hosting company, not just HostGator. In that confirmation email, you'll receive a link to your billing account and as well a link to what's called your control panel, along with your domain, your username, and your password for your hosting account. Below that, you'll find your name servers for your hosting account. Now, if you did not register a domain when you purchased your HostGator hosting account, let's say you already had a domain registered with some other company like GoDaddy or Namecheap or something like that, you would need this name server information to tell your domain at your other company to point to your hosting company here at HostGator. So it's like telling your street address that you're going to pick up and move your house. Or I'm sorry, putting in a change of address basically with the post office and saying that you're going to move. And so you would need those name server information to tell your domain that you're no longer going to look one place for your hosting account, and for your website you're going to look somewhere else. Now, your control panel, that's where all of your website files, your email, that's where all of that information is going to be stored. And so this confirmation email is very important because it has your username, it has your username and your password for your control panel. My suggestion to you is to bookmark the link to your control panel right here. To bookmark the link to your control panel so that you can get to it very easily. You can also get to it simply by typing. This would be, like, for example, if this were your domain, this would be your domain.com/cpanel. And once cpanel, like the letter C and then panel, and once you did that, you would be given a place to put in your username and password. So what we're going to do right now is go ahead and jump in to a cPanel account on HostGator. So here I've got my HostGator account bookmarked, and so I just clicked on it. And this is what a cPanel account looks like. All of these areas here are draggable. You can move them. What you'll see is that the first area are some special offers they have for you. Then you have your most important HostGator links, like your billing, your support, and live chat. And then I have mine, I've dragged mine around a little bit from the default settings to where I have my files next, my domains, my software and services, and then my mail. Then there are some other areas below that, but we won't even use any of these during this webinar. We won't even look at those. Over on the left-hand side, you can see a few things that you might like to look at every once in a while. You can see a list of all of the domains that you have associated with your account. And then as you click on those, you can see quickly the traffic that you've had to those. If you scroll all the way down, you can see again your name servers if you happen to need those for any reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up, and at this point we have our hosting established, and the last thing that we want to do before we install WordPress is set up an email account that matches our domain. And so we're going to click on Email Accounts under the Mail tab. And you can see I have lots of domains here and lots of email addresses. I'm just going to choose email at myforeverlegacy.com and then choose a password. Now you can say that you want this particular mailbox to have a quota, or you can set it to unlimited and just click Create Account. Then we can search for that email. If you only have one email account, it won't be that hard, but I have probably 30, so I'm going to search for it to find it. And here it showed up right here. Now you can see the usage of it, basically how many emails do you have in there. You can change the password or the quota, you can delete it. And then you have two other options. You can access the webmail, which I'm going to open up in a new tab, but also you can choose to configure an email client. If you use an application like Outlook or Thunderbird or one of the services on your Mac, here are the settings that you would need to set up this email account within your email client. Right here is your username, your incoming mail server, and that information. So again, it's quite easy. We just set up an email account, a matching one, and you can import that information into your Outlook. Here's how you check that information straight on the internet without using something like Outlook. So we were back here. Sorry, let me get back to the email tab. We were back at email accounts, and we had clicked on Access Webmail. And then you'll be presented with three choices. These are basically three small web-only email clients. They do the same thing. I typically choose Squirrel Mail, probably because it's in the middle. And you can see right now I don't have any email because we just set up this account. We haven't done anything with it yet. But you would be able to compose mail and keep track of addresses and folders. This is a very basic email program, but it does what you need. If you don't use any other programs like Outlook or Gmail or anything like that, then you can go ahead and use this. You can also access it by typing in your domain and then choosing /webmail right after that. Do you see that up here in the browser? And then when you hit enter, you'll be given a place to enter your email address and your password for that particular email account, and it will take you right back to that screen where you have the 3 choices for the email client, and you can choose whichever one you want and log in and get started. So now we have set up our hosting account, we have our land, we have our domain, we have our street address, and we have our matching email address. So we have our mailbox ready. Now we are ready to build our website. In the next video, we're going to get started installing and configuring WordPress.